Solving inequalities. So before we were talking about solving linear equations where we've got an equal sign. Well, inequalities means if you've got a less than symbol or a greater than symbol, or a less than or equal to or greater than or equal to symbol. And to be honest, there's nothing terribly different that you need to know. They behave fairly similar to an equal sign. So, this is saying some number plus 2 has to be less than 6. Well, if I minus 2 on both sides, then that would mean that x would have to be less than 4. That would make sense. So x has to be less than 4 because if x is any number bigger than 4, like if it was 5 plus 2, well, that's not less than 6 whatsoever. So, logically, that all I did was take away 2. Now I know that x has to be less than 4. So over here, for example number 2, I'm going to minus 3 on both sides and get 2x is greater than 1. Divide both sides by 2. Now note that x has to be greater than a half, because 2 times a half is going to be 1. 1 plus 3 is 4. So the x has to be greater than a half in order for that inequality to work. Now this says less than or equal to. Well, same thing. I'm just going to add 3 on both sides. I know that 4x is going to be less than or equal to 14. And if I divide both sides, oh, I've just mucked up my colors, bum. X will have to be less than or equal to 14 over 4, or which would be equal to 7 over 2. So, in other words, 3.5. So 4 times 3.5 is going to, or 4 times 14 over 4 is going to be 14. Take away 3 is going to be 11. So yes, so 4 has to be, x has to be less than or equal to 7 over 2 in order for this to work. The last one here, you'll notice here I've got this example of 4 take away x is less than 5. So this is going to be a weird one, and we'll show why. So this is going to be, I'm going to take away 4, and this will become negative x is less than 1. Well, that one makes sense. That negative x would have to be less than 1, because if negative x was equal to 1, so how does negative x equals 1? Well, imagine if x was minus 1. Minus and minus will make that a plus. So 4 and this, whatever this, has to be less than 1, because otherwise, because 4 plus 1 is equal to 5. So that's what negative x is. What would be just regular old x? Now, would x have to be less than negative 1? Well, if it's less than negative 1, so know how we didn't change the signs at all. If x was less than negative 1, let's say it was negative 2, 4 minus minus 2 will make it 6. And 6 isn't less than 5. So we'd have to say that x is greater than negative 1. Why? Because if x is 0, 4 minus 0 is less than 5. 4 minus 1 is less than 5, and so on. If x was less than negative 1, then you would actually get numbers bigger than 5. So, in summary, inequalities treat them the same as linear equations if you divide by a negative, or I have to say multiply as well, because they are 1 and 2 the same. If you divide / multiply by a negative, flip the less than, greater than sign.